guess you've had a few days to digest. How are you feeling now? You couldn't really hide your disappointment after the weekend.
Yeah, well, obviously we're in an industry where we want to win games of footy. I'm no different. And, we get another chance this weekend against a really good opposition. So, we had to learn from what happened against Hawthorn and try and implement and make some changes this week.
Watching on from home, I didn't make it to the game, but do you feel like you can learn a lot out of the third term? Because in that third quarter, you guys came back a fair bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think, that's part of the way we want to play our footy. We increased our pressure around the ball, played a little bit more in our front half, and a lot of the time we had some really shallow entries early, which provided a lot of Hawthorn's rebound as well. So, our work centre forward is obviously an area we need to continually work on, but also our intensity around the ball. That certainly dropped away in the second quarter in our transition. So, we needed to rectify that at half time. So the players' credit, they did it.
I wondered, how did Taylor Adams pull up? Because we haven't really had an update. And how is he? Because obviously he didn't play a lot last season, and I guess he was probably thinking this was his time to shine.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Taylor, he's hurt his hamstring. So, he had scans on Sunday, and he got the news yesterday he'll probably be 3 to 4 weeks. Which is unfortunate for him and the footy team. He's an experienced player, so he'll deal with it as well as he possibly can. But we thought he was going to play an important role for us, certainly in the early part of the year, and he'll just have to rehab now and create an opportunity for someone else.
What are the stocks like at the moment to kind of replace him? Any other knocks or any other injuries? I know there was a BFL practice match as well.
Yeah, we had a couple of concussions and a shoulder injury, seeing a specialist. So, we got knocked around a little bit in the VFL as well. So, the opportunity will come for, Tommy Hanley was sub. There's a replacement in that, or whether we go a little bit differently as well with behind the ball. So, when you look at the Brisbane team, we won't know what they did on Wednesday, but from what they did against Adelaide, we'll have a really close look at that and try and match up as well as we possibly can against the best team in the comp.
I know there's been a bit of chat and discussion about the McCartan move, and it's only been one game, and how the defence looked. In terms of going back and reviewing the game, what did you make of both what Tommy did and how the defence looked as a whole?
The defence was okay. They had to defend 58 inside 50s. And to go at 43% inside 50 conversion, it's pretty good by most stats. We attacked at 53. So, I think one thing you got to look at is how we go behind the ball and the matchups that we had. Then on top of that when Tommy is ahead of the ball, the ability to be able to hit the scoreboard, that's one thing, but for him it's about trying to present outside, allow Joel to play a little bit deeper, and Joel kicks 3. So we'll never be a football team about one particular person in a certain area. It'll be about how can we complement each other. And having said that, he'll work as hard as he can on his game to improve, and we're also not fixated on keeping him there. So, just on the weekend, that's where it worked really well. The Brisbane forward line's a little bit different to Hawthorn, so we'll assess what we do as well.
In terms of some of those defensive matchups, you take a lot of, merit out of the fact that the Hawthorn forwards weren't really the ones who were damaging on the weekend. Obviously, they got the help with the repeat entries, the midfielders kind of capitalised, but a lot of those direct matchups from the defenders, they nullified for most of the match.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's one thing we want to do, is we want to defend as strong as we can as a unit behind the ball, and collectively as an 18. And that was one thing, when Day kicks 3, Newcomb has shots at goal as well. So, we've generally been the other way, where our mids are kick goals, and, we had to try and rectify and pull that a little bit back. And, but overall they scored more than us. We've got to restrict that as much as we can.
When, the Lions didn't get to play on the weekend, what are you guys looking at? Their practice matches? Do you have to go back to look at the grand final again? How do you plan for this game?
Yeah, we'll plan on, they've obviously played Gold Coast and Collingwood in a little bit of a tri-series or 3-team game, and then they played a full game against Adelaide with a lot of their players. Obviously Harris Andrews didn't play, but, by most part they played a full strength for the majority of that game. So we'll have a really close look at both of those. I think the reflection is upon the grand final. We've looked at that. We've learnt from that as much as we can, and also that our team's a little bit different to maybe what theirs will be as well. So, we need to make sure we're aware of what they do at their best, but also what they've currently been doing as well.
Are you expecting to pack the ground out? You guys get good home crowds and maybe have a bit of home ground advantage?
Yeah, I hope so. Oh, I think that's been the support that everyone's given here. To have almost 41,000 again. I think a lot of people have criticised opening round, but just how important it is for this state and the northern markets. It was a little bit different. It did look a little bit different with both teams not playing from Queensland, but I think from here in the Giants, the support that we did get and showed with the numbers that attended the games that we have a really strong supporter base and a passionate one, and we need to make sure we perform to keep it that way.
Just in terms of this being your first time as the coach, has anyone kind of called you over the past couple of days just to congratulate you and just talk through and give you some advice?
Yeah, I think people are always sort of, as soon as I took over, gave me advice of how to handle things. They did leading into last week, but it was more about the job that I have at hand, and I think I dealt with it when I was a player. The opportunity to represent this footy club as the head coach is something I don't hold lightly. I know the magnitude and the role that it entails. So it's about me trying to get our players to play the best they can and worry about myself after that.
In terms of this week's match, obviously we know in terms of the grand final review, it was said that first minute of game time, there was a fair length of time spent on reviewing that in particular. Can you give us a bit of insight into what that minute in particular you saw and what you're hoping to see maybe in that first minute and as a bit of a counteraction to that this weekend?
Oh, I think the way we defended, the way we transitioned and how switched on we were, that probably stood out right from the start. And that's why it took a while. And, against any team, if you're doing that, you're going to give them every chance to exploit what you're trying to do. So, we've got to make sure that, first of all, we're fierce around the contest. They're the number one contested possession team. So that was from last year. That's what they showed against Adelaide. They've got some unbelievable talent through that area of the ground as well. So, that's the first part I'll be looking at.
Obviously, the clearance and contested ball against Hawthorn wasn't quite where you wanted it to be. Is it a simple fix to try and get those numbers right? Can you identify that there was just a couple of things, or what is the next step for this midfield group to become a more consistent team in that regard?
Yeah, most part they've been pretty good, but the contested possessions, we were +1 in ground balls, so that's a big part of contested ball. One part we were -9 at contested marks, so that is a huge part of your -12. So there's certain areas of the contested ball area that we need to look at, and that was their aerial presence. Hawthorn's was really strong ahead and behind the ball, so we need to make sure that we can rectify that.
I just wanted to ask if I think Taps, at least in the first term, maybe was limping around, maybe had a cramp. Did he pull up okay after the game?
Yeah, Paps was fine. So it's good he's had an interrupted start, but he'll train fully this week and be good to go.